Hi, and welcome to March 2022 Patreon Rewards video. So let's get started with what I'm going to be giving out to my patrons this month. First thing, I did do a bit of a demo earlier this month on some figure drawing tips. So I'm going to be giving that file away to silver patrons, and here's the final. So that's that. Okay, so and then here we have the postcard. So this month's postcard was extremely tricky. It's one of these things where I actually was very... The whole time I was stumbling throughout the entire process. And then by the time I got to the end of the process, I was happy with the results. But I was really panicking throughout the entire process of making this postcard. So I wanted to, and I recorded a video, and you can see me stumble. So one of the takeaways from having done this is that I really need to focus a little bit more on the luminescent thing, on practicing in my sketchbook before I go into this sort of thing. One of the things about this is that this kind of painting that I'm doing is that I'm taking, I do these postcards off of a photo reference. However, because of what I want to do, the result I want to get, I have to steer away. I have to improvise from the reference. First of all, the reference I was using, the lady that I was painting didn't look like this at all. So I changed the way she looked. First of all, I was like, I like the lighting. I want to make her face different. So I changed the face. Second, the lighting was a lot more traditional. The lighting was very black and white. The background was very dark. Her lighting was very harsh and very sharp and dark. I changed it so it was glowing, right? Like I wanted to have a glow. So there were two things that were different. One, the lady's face, and two, the lighting. I improvised the light. So that's one of the reasons why I had such a hard time doing this, because I had to reinterpret and recreate the lighting while still using the lighting from the reference. So that was the thing. And so because of that, I need to practice way more doing this luminescent thing. And I think if you watch the video, there was a point where I had to make a critical decision about what to do with this area here at the edge. And that was the thing that made it work. And I think that is the thing I need to practice in my sketchbook more. So I'm going to be doing more practicing in my sketchbook, I think, of trying to do this kind of lighting. Okay. The winner of this postcard, by the way, anybody who's supported me on Patreon, is I put their name in in the list, and then I put those names in a randomizer, and then I press the button, and then I get the results, and the person who comes up gets the postcard. So this time around, Aaron Garcia, Aaron, this is the first time you won anything. So thank you very much, and I don't have your address, so I'm probably going to end up, I'm going to have to ask you for your address, but you're going to get this postcard. Okay. The next thing is this. Okay, so I have this thing about wanting to find a way to draw pretty girl faces in a way that is satisfying to me. There's lots and lots of different ways to draw pretty girls' faces. Lots of different styles. I've tried on the lots of different ways of doing it. A little bit more anime, a little bit more Archie style. Dan Haskett style, I should say, and different things like that, right? And I just and there's a way that I tend to draw them. So but I'm still searching for that thing, because there's certain looks that I like, but sometimes the results that I get aren't always what I want. So I was looking in Art Station, and there are these guys who do sculpts of cartoony girl faces, and they work really well, and they're very pretty. And then I'm like, what is it? What are they doing? What I the one of the things that is difficult for me is the nose, and how to shape the nose, how to imagine the nose in a three-dimensional way that works in a cartoony face, right? That's to me, that's one of the things that I struggle with, that I'm like, how can you design the nose in 3 dimensions? How can you imagine them in 3 dimensions and have them work? Because oftentimes I found that the more you imply the nose rather than draw the nose, is what makes the face look cute. The problem is that if you're going to paint a head that's cartoony, and you have an implied nose, you have to still somehow develop it. If it's lit, if you light it, you have to show what it is dimensionally. So it's always bothered me. So when you look at sculptors, like CG sculptors, or even traditional sculptors that do cartoony faces, and if they're able to produce a pretty face, how are they making the nose work? Because you can't imply a nose when you're sculpting. You got to sculpt the nose in 3 dimensions. And if the 3-dimensional face looks cute in every angle, what are they doing? Like, I'm like, oh, so good. That's so good. So in ArtStation, there's some guys, I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at the way they're sculpting. And then I'm like, okay, so I decided to draw the noses that they were drawn, that they had sculpted. And then I'm trying to wrap my head around how that would be drawn. And so this was my, little, I spent an hour just kind of trying to solve the construction of the nose so that it could be 3-dimensional and look good, and get a pretty face. And so that's what this page is about. This is just me kind of wrapping my head around trying to find a good formula for nose construction that works on a pretty face. So that's what this page is about. Oh boy. Okay. So, this is, me playing around with something that I've been, and I'm going to keep coming back to this. I know I'm going to keep coming back to this. I want to draw this. I want to draw this. This is me trying to draw. Okay, and this is going to be weird, and you guys are going to be like, what? This is me trying to draw Saint Christopher. If you don't know anything about Saint Christopher, you really, really, really need to, because he's so much fun. And then I'm going to link to a video from a Eastern Orthodox iconographer who also is really, really into symbology. And he's really worth listening to, because he breaks down symbols in a really interesting, fun way. But and he's made a comic where he's used Saint Christopher, and he kind of exposed me to this legend of Saint Christopher. So in Catholicism, the only thing that we really, really, really know as factual about Saint Christopher is that he was a martyr. He died by being killed by arrows. That's all we know about him. However, the legend of Saint Christopher is so good. It's like this epic. And there are two ways that Saint Christopher is often depicted. One way is that he's depicted as a giant. And the other way is that he's depicted with a dog head. And symbolically, this the dog head is a symbol of his being at the edge of the known world. He's so foreign that he's got a dog head, right? Like somebody who's so whose culture is so far from what you know that they might as well have the dog heads. So Saint Christopher was a Canaanite before he converted, and that is portrayed symbolically with the head of a dog. And then the rest of the story is just super epic. I highly recommend reading it, but anyway. So I decided I wanted to draw Saint Christopher with a dog head. So the very first thing, okay, so here I have him wearing Canaanite armor. And then here is the dog head. And then at first I was like, wanted to give him I tried to use a husky head, like that, like I wanted to give him the face of a husky. But he seems so friendly. The idea here was to make him look fierce, and huskies are really cute, and they don't seem very threatening because they're so fluffy. So it was a bit of a oops, kind of like it's not quite what I intended. I no matter what I did, I couldn't make him look fierce. So I tried to make it. So if you look at some like there's one sculpture that I found online of Saint Christopher, and he has the head of a Doberman. Most of the time, you kind of see him have a Doberman head or a head of a dog that is not a dog, like iconography of Saint Christopher with a dog head. Doesn't look like a dog. It's like the iconographers didn't know what dogs look like or something, because they don't really look like dogs. But anyway, so I tried to, so my next attempt here was to make him much, I gave him a Doberman head. And so this is much closer to what I was intending. Now he looks fierce. The idea behind Saint Christopher is that he looks like like he was like Conan, right? Like this guy was just like, he's this Conan the Barbarian kind of dude. And that's Saint Christopher's like this beast of a guy, looking to serve the strongest. That was the thing about Saint Christopher. He was this barbarian who wanted to give his life in service to the strongest of all. So that's the motivation of the legend of the character of Saint Christopher in the legend. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I wanted to draw that guy, the guy that when he walks in the room, everybody freaks out, right? So that was the intent. So this is as far as I got. I want to keep playing with it. I try to give him hair. I don't know, like, because I'm thinking Conan, right? Like I'm like, maybe he should have like this Conan kind of hair, but it's weird. Like I'm not sure if, and there are iconography. There is paintings and icons with him having hair. So I was playing with that. So I really want to do this Saint Christopher drawing, and I'm still working on designing a Saint Christopher that I want, that gets me excited to draw him, right? So like I'm still playing with it. So this is my second idea, and then I stopped because I got distracted with more stuff to do. So That was the idea behind these drawings here. All right, and then okay, so I did watch. There was an artist that was making was talking about drawing people from memory. So like you go out into the world and then you look at a person and then you go home and draw them, sort of thing, right? Like you could do it like there in this on the spot, and then just draw them from memory. He was talking about that, and then there was and it's interesting because right before that I had drawn this, like I had drawn this person, and I drew her. I took a walk with my son, and as I was walking, there was this lady walking her dog, and something about the shapes kind of was like, oh, I feel like drawing that person. But it was weird because she was like looking back at me as if I was like stalking her. I wasn't even looking. Like I looked at her, I got my mental impression, and then that was it. And then I came home and then I started to draw the person, and then I was really unhappy with my drawing. I'm not really happy with it. One of the things that I was really unhappy with is that there's something about the way that and this has been bothering me for years. There's something about the way that I draw people in my sketchbook that doesn't feel like I'm getting the kind of results I want to get, because it doesn't feel like it's me drawing. It just feels like I'm trying to copy what I see rather than interpreting what I see and clarifying what I see. And what ends up happening is that I have I don't have a very confident line when I do that. And whatever I end up with, the results I end up with is kind of shaky, self-aware, what's the word? Lacking in confidence, lacking in direction. I think stuff like that. And so like for example, this face, I was like, it has no there's no form to what. I'm not trying to say anything. So I actually came afterward, and then I started redrawing the face a few times to see if there's a way that I could just draw somebody in a way that was almost formulaic, like it's just like a standardized way of me drawing, so that things are more direct. I think that's the word I was looking for all this time. Direct. It's not, my drawings weren't direct enough, right? They lacked focus, direction, and a thing to be said. So then I watched this guy kind of talk about some of the things that he does and how he thinks about it, and there was some really interesting things that he said that I'm probably going to end up sharing later once I'm able to study them and then be able to regurgitate them. Because if I can't talk about them if I don't assimilate them and then be able to understand them and then be able to repeat them, right? However, one of the things, so there were some tips that he gave, and one of the things that I ended up coming away with was this. I need to look at a person and then decide not to have it a perfect version of the person, but then reinterpret and design the person as if they were from my head. And then when I do that, I tend to be more direct, and I make more direct choices. So I had my daughter had a birthday last month, and we went to the park to celebrate. And I decided to try out some of the tips and tricks to drawing people from imagination, from observation, and then memorize and then draw. And these are the results. So these are a little bit more direct, by which I mean not that they're not scribbly, but that they say more than I would have. So, for example, this was the impression I got of a little girl watching. I think a piñata was being done. I think. This is the impression of the guy that I was watching standing there. That people like and this is the kind of sketches that I kind of wanted to go with now. These are the results I wanted. I wanted something that wasn't this shaky cam, scribbly, I don't know, indecisiveness, and I wanted to really make a statement about the person. And that's the idea, is like being able to make a statement of the person, not to capture them completely, but make a statement about what your impressions of the person is. And that's what I wanted to get. And and it's funny because I drew this lady, for example, and then I looked at her once, and then I drew this, and then I looked at her again, and it felt right to me. Like, this lady is that lady I saw. Same with the little girl. Same with all of these were exactly what I wanted. Like it wasn't a perfect representation, but it was exactly everything I saw about them. And then when I looked back at them, it felt like them. It felt like I drew them it was very satisfying. So I'm going to keep practicing this, and I'm going to start having to make notes and starting to practice all the nuances for this kind of thing, and then maybe I'll get more and more confident, and then I'll be able to regurgitate what I learned. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm so all over the place. I went from St. Christopher to drawing people from my head to drawing what was it over here? The noses, and then like the lighting. Like, I'm just all over the place. And then and not only that, I'm gonna go all over the place to another direction too. So and this was all in February. I was just everywhere in February. I finished this Mr. Grump's drawing. So this was from earlier in the month. Probably one of the first things I did this month was my daughter's Mr. Grump design. I did the final version. This is my final version of Mr. Grump's. This is, again, I'm completely doing a totally different thing. This is kind of like a game asset thing that I'm kind of working on. So I designed the Mr. Grump's based off of my daughter's design. Here's the little post-it on Mr. Grump's head that kind of reflects his attitude towards the world. It's a fun little idea that my daughter had, so I just kind of went with it. This is from a video that I did about making a cartoon version of a person based off of the construction, understanding the construction of a real head. So if it isn't up, the video isn't up yet, you could look forward to seeing it soon. All right, so oh boy. Okay, so this is something else that I've been kind of obsessing about. Rendering. I hate rendering. I absolutely despise rendering in pencil and pen, right? I love rendering in painting. While painting, I love it. It feels so good. It makes me happy. I'm really into it. It really works for me. But when it comes to rendering in pencil or in pen, I hate it. Hate it, right? I want to not hate it. I want to like it as much as I do when I paint, because it feels good, right? So I thought, okay, first, I haven't done figure drawing in a while. When I did this figure drawing over here, it got me really itching to draw more figures. So I thought, okay, I'm going to break out my sketchbook and I'm going to do a rendering of a figure. So I'm going to figure draw and then do a more rendered version, right? I'm going to give that rendered version a shot. So I drew this, and then this was done with a pencil. And the method I was using to try to, I didn't like it. I wasn't thinking correctly when I did it. I was really unhappy with it. I was like, no, this is really boring, and my results are really ugly, and I don't like it, and I hate myself, and this is terrible. And so I said, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna put this pencil aside because pencils are evil. They're not evil, but rendering with pencil, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't like it. Okay, so I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go with my ballpoint pen, because ballpoint pens, I use them a lot. I've tried rendering before with the pen. I've practiced with the pen, ballpoint pen. I enjoy it a little bit more. I'm going to try to render with a pen and try it again. Same exact pose, same exact reference. I'm gonna do it with a ballpoint pen. Go. So I decided to start doing it with a ballpoint pen. I did my lay-in and everything, and then it was awful. It was awful. Like, I didn't like it. Like, I was like, what? Why is this? No. Like, I was just like, I didn't like the results. Things were just, it looked ugly. It was out of control. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. There was so much that wasn't working. So, so I gave up. Like I was like, okay, you know what? Pens are evil. And then no. And so I got rid of the pen, and then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to try it again. Same photo, same figure, different medium. I was going to, instead of a regular pencil and instead of a ballpoint pen, I'm going to get a, like a drawing pen, like the drawing, colored pencil, but it was going to be like a Prismacolor type. I actually thought I was using a Prismacolor. It turned out that it wasn't a Prismacolor. I forgot what type of pencil it was. This is the pencil I was using. I thought it was a Prisma. It wasn't a Prisma. It was a different brand. It doesn't work the same way as a Prisma, but I gave it a shot. So I started over, and I used that pen, and this is what my result. So like this. And then this, there was two things about this. One, I used a traditional approach, by which I mean the exact same approach that I used here in this drawing, I used in that last drawing, okay? In this drawing. The thing about that is that I did not do that in these. So in these, I lost my way because I wasn't using the method that I am used to when I do figure drawing. That was the most important takeaway that I came out from, is that if I don't use the regular way that I tend to break things down, my thought process falls apart. It doesn't work. Okay, so I took the process that I always use now, and then I tried it again, ignoring what I was trying to do before, which was a little bit more about the way I was holding, the type of rendering that I thought I was supposed to do. And then so I used the traditional way that I've learned to do it. And of course, it gave me much more control. And then when I went in with the final look and added all the subtleties, it came together. It felt right. I understood what I was doing. I had a lot of control, and and then I even tried. I took a Q-tip, and I put it with alcohol, and then I melted, and I rubbed it into the color pencil because I thought it was Prisma, but it's not. But so the effect worked and didn't work. It both worked and didn't work. It did blend the pencil line and made it look a little bit more watercolory. But at the same time, if I think this had been Prismacolor, it would have been even better. It would have had a better result. But this is in general what I did, and this is and then this worked. This worked for me. This was the result I wanted. So I said, okay. So the next day, I this was on a weekend at night that I kind of did this because I was really obsessing over this on my head. The next morning, I ended up skipping my workout because I wanted so desperately to draw some more and try my hand at rendering. So I did this. I think it was this, or maybe it was this was another day, and I'm talking about a different drawing. But anyway, so what I ended up doing was, with this drawing, I did exactly the same process as I did with this. I did exactly the same process as I do with this, but with a pen, with a ballpoint pen. So I did that, and the difference between this and this was that I didn't worry so much about direction and stuff like that. Like this, I was trying too hard in a different. I just decided that I was going to just kind of use the pen as I knew how to do it. And really the only difference was that I was holding the pen way up here and I was just kind of feathering like this. And that's all that I did. That was the new thing that I was doing that I had never done before, was hold the pen way the heck up here when I was rendering. And the trick for me was the planning ahead before doing the final render. If I didn't have a plan, it fell apart. That was the problem here. There was no planning. It was just I went straight into rendering and there was no planning, and it was just a horrible mess. So here it was really planned out so that the rendering was in service of the preconceived plan, and it was just finessing what was already there. And so I was really happy with the results, and I'm going to keep practicing this. So it's something else that I need to practice. So see how I'm all over the place this month? Like last month was just crazy. My brain was all over the place, just like this thing and this thing. I was chasing squirrels the whole month. So that's something that has led me to conclude that I also need to learn to render garbage lighting reference. Like okay, so there's two types of reference material. There's good reference and bad reference. The bad reference is something that has no clear dramatic lighting. Like usually when I think about dramatic lighting, I think something like this, where there's a clear light source, there's a clear shadow source, there's even secondary light and rim light and all kinds of really interesting things, because you get these dynamic light and dark contrasts, and you're able to do something with this, and they kind of push the form forward, right? That's this kind of lighting like this that I'm talking about here. So this is the good type of lighting. This is the kind of lighting that you want to be able to draw from. The bad kind of lighting is the kind that you tend to see in magazines, the glamour lighting, the lighting that has no light and shadow. That's garbage. That lighting is it's just really mundane. It's just ambient light being just the light source of the not even the sky. The sky even has better, more dramatic lighting, but just like fluorescent light, like actually the lighting that you're seeing me in right now is the type of lighting that is garbage, right? Like if I was a better DP, if I had I would have like a light source over here and another light source over here, maybe a rim light, and then make it a little bit more dramatic and more beautiful for you to look at my face. But this is just like I have a light in front of my face and it's just washing me out. And this lighting that you're seeing me in right now, that's the garbage lighting. That's the lighting that has no drama. It's really boring. It's really difficult to do. And that is the kind of lighting that I need to be able to draw in, because the reason why I want to be able to draw objects in poor light conditions, in bland, ambient light conditions, is because if you're able to do that, if you're able to still duplicate and draw and render an object in really ambient, lame, horrible, crappy light, that means that when you have a dramatic light source, no matter what you're going to do, whether you're going to render more the light, what's in the shadow, or render more what's in the light, whatever one of the two you pick, because the rule of thumb when painting is that you either pick the light or the shadow to detail. So if you're going to add detail to the light, to the area of the light, usually the shadow area will be bland, won't have almost any detail at all. It will just be a general shape. You could see this in the work of Frazetta. He does that all the time, Frank Frazetta. And but there are some circumstances where, for example, you are outside, but somebody is in the shade. Well, then whatever is in shadow is going to be very detailed because they're in the shade, and anything in the light will be really washed out and almost blown out, right? So it'll have less detail in it. So, and then you won't focus so much on what's in the sunlight, right? Or somebody is inside a house and outside is the sunlight, so everything outside the door is washed out, or outside the window is washed out, while you focus on the stuff inside the house where it's in shadow. And so you'll put more detail in the shadow. Every single detail that you put in the shadow in that case is ambient light. It's got that boring light in it. And anything that you put in a more dramatic thing where the shadows are very dark and you're not worried about anything in the shadows, anything that you paint in the light, that's also ambient light. That is the boring light part. So you got to learn to paint and to render the boring stuff and the dramatic stuff, so that when you finish a finished piece, what you're basically doing is rendering the boring stuff. I've never practiced enough of doing that. I do that in my digital painting all the time. It's super fun, but using tools like pencils and pens, and doing the boring stuff with pencils and pens, I don't do that enough. And I think that I need to practice doing that more so that I can become better at finishing more rendered stuff, even though that I've been doing a lot of rendered stuff, and even though I've been doing that in digital paint and in watercolor. I think that's one of the things that my watercolors are suffering from, is that I'm not doing that enough. Maybe with the watercolors, just doing boring lit stuff. So I think I'm going to be working on that too. So there's like a list of stuff that I need to do. There's a list of stuff. St. Christopher, I want to keep working on St. Christopher. I want to keep doing the video game assets thing that I've been doing. I want to keep learning to render better stuff in bad lighting and using pencils and ink. And I want to keep working on illumination, lights, like illuminative light. So there's so much, and that's not even counting the comic that I want to keep working on right now. That is not even the comic that I would. Oh my gosh! So there's so much stuff that I'm working on. So that's the story behind all these sketches, and I'm all over the place this month. But this is what you're getting from me this month. And that's the story behind all the crazy. All right. So thank you so much for supporting me. Hopefully by the time I get out of this crazy, I want to do everything, I'll have so much more to teach, so much more to talk about, so much more tips and tricks from all the stuff that I've learned, from all the crazy that all the squirrels that I'm chasing. So yeah, so thanks a lot for watching. Thank you for supporting me. And I will talk to you next time. All right. Bye.